Welcome back to the Kicks and Picks podcast. Nick and Scotty here with me, Coach Steve. I have to start this episode with a European football related item. It's an American football related item. Fly Eagles Fly. Super Bowl champs, Super Bowl 59, absolute demolition derby of the Chiefs. It was the most satisfying game I may have ever watched in my life, especially at least American football. So no sweat for me on Sunday. Cashed a little future I had. It was a good day.
Yeah, he didn't want to get up early to watch Roma, though. If you guys
remember. I woke up at 6:30 and I watched that, win. But again, not the most impressive win. One on a penalty kick.
More penalties for Roma. Got it. Now, shout out you, Steve. I don't like either team, but am I mad to see the Chiefs lose? No. So good for you. Glad my friend's happy.
I think it's funny that this is finally where the Chiefs kind of like turned back into a pumpkin. Because I think that was seemingly the narrative most of the season. It was like, they're not that good this year. Like, they just don't have the offensive talent. I mean, I know they had a lot of injuries, at least in the wide receiver core, but it's like turning back into a pumpkin on the biggest stage is like just the worst thing for both the Chiefs and the NFL, frankly, because this is the first Super Bowl I turned off. Like, I think I turned off around the third quarter. I was just done.
Yeah, didn't watch a full quarter. I don't think of the whole game, like little snippets here and there. But good for you. Congrats. Hey,
I'm gonna enjoy it at least until the next football season starts. So they give me a lot more satisfaction than Roma. So we'll put it that way.
Rough.
That's a low bar.
We've progressively watched Roma break Steve, like game by game, month by month, season by season.
Started with Mourinho because he was very high on Mourinho, and we were.
Oh, yeah.
Telling him it's going to come crashing down, and he didn't want to believe it. And then I think when it finally did, it kind of broke a little piece of him that hasn't ever really healed.
I mean, hey, he brought us their first trophy in God knows how long, and almost brought a really referee got in the way of a second one. So can't complain about the tenure. But anyway, big games
Johnny,
in
what's
England,
up, bro?
England and Italy this weekend. Weekend kicks off on Friday in England, which we don't always get a Friday Premier League game. We usually get those in the other European leagues. It's Brighton hosting Chelsea. Big numbers on both teams on the money line. Brighton plus 195, Chelsea plus 125. Where do you guys see the value? I mean, there is value in both teams, but who do you know?
We gotta address the big elephant in the room.
Messi.
It's Brighton versus Chelsea take two, because they played each other in the FA Cup this last weekend with Brighton prevailing 2-1. And so I said it last week. I said, these back-to-back ties usually have a little bit of weirdness in them, where very rarely do you see two wins back-to-back. So I think the FA Cup was probably the weird one. Brighton got the result. I think, Chelsea, I went out on a limb and I said, I know it's probably going to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to take Chelsea. And it did. But that gives me some confidence in this one. I don't think Brighton are beating Chelsea back-to-back. I think that would be a very devastating loss for Chelsea, given we'll get to them later, but the City and Newcastle game, where they sit in the table, big opportunity for Chelsea to kind of give themselves a little bit of space in that race for what's probably going to end up being a top 5 Champions League qualification spot in England this year. So I don't see Brighton getting done back to back. Chelsea money line at plus 125 is good enough for me. If you're looking to kind of like spread it out a little bit, I think you can get like minus quarter of a goal. What's that looking like? Minus 110.
Minus 110, yeah.
That's Nick's. The inverse of Nick's favorite line. He prefers the plus quarter of a goal.
Every time. No, dude, I'm so with you, Scotty. You took the words out of my mouth. I mean, a good example of that is Inter and Fiorentina, who played 2 games 5 days apart, 4 days apart, whatever it was. They split the games. I think that happens here as well. I mean, looked at this and it's like Chelsea to the moon. You right? Like, can't really see Brighton doing it twice. Chelsea draw no bet. Shop around. If you can get that around minus 130, I would be all over that line. So it's like minus 140, minus 145 right now on DraftKings. So if you can get a better number, I'm absolutely all over that. But if anybody wants to take Chelsea on the money line, absolutely plus 125 is good enough to do it.
Their team total is playable too. Over 1.5 is minus 125. I know they only had 1 goal in the FA Cup, but Cole Palmer, I think, is gonna have a bigger game in this one.
Definitely.
So over 1.5 seems like a fair play in this as well.
I'm in complete agreement.
Yeah, the other thing I think is is very much in play is the over 3 at -125. Both these teams don't keep clean sheets. They just played a 3-goal match and could be even more the second time around. Head to head, 7 of the last 8 are at least over 2.5. So I think this is a match where you at least get a push if you're playing an over 3.
I agree with that. But I like Chelsea to get 2. I think they get 2. They have to get 2 to win, right? So
yeah, I think if either team's going to win, they need 2 goals in this one. I don't think either one's keeping a clean sheet based on the trends of late.
For sure.
All right, so that's Friday. Moving on to Saturday, we've got Leicester hosting Arsenal. Arsenal, huge favorites. I know there's not much value here on them on the money line. I don't think anybody's trusting Leicester, even at home. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know.
So after the shellacking they put on City 2 weeks ago, you're going to fade Arsenal here?
Well, the problem is Arsenal have been devastated by injuries, and we've known that their offensive line has been completely reduced to rubble, basically. And even in an off weekend, because they didn't have an FA Cup match this weekend, so they went off to go do their warm weather training program in Dubai or Emirates or wherever. They still get injured. Kai Havertz now done with the season, tore his hamstring during their training sessions.
No shit.
No shit. Done
oh,
with the
wow.
season.
I didn't know that.
So their attacking line is going to be some mix of Trossard, Newari, and Raheem Sterling. That's going to be your front three for Arsenal.
Excuse me, sir. You mean the English Vinny Jr.?
Yes. English Vinicius Jr., correct. But 6 years older. So even less legs. So I don't know that I'm going to be like hammering Arsenal in any way, shape, or form here. Leicester plus a goal and a half, -105. Given the struggles that Arsenal already had scoring outside of set pieces, they already had trouble doing so. Giving Leicester a goal and a half and expecting Arsenal to keep a clean sheet on the road here. Listen, Leicester, the way they're going to set up is the way that we know that they always do. They're going to set up to counterpunch. They're going to try to absorb all this attacking, pressure that Arsenal will try to build on them. Declan Rice will be certainly controlling the game, but without that toothy player that can finish these chances, Arsenal will be open for the counterattack. And at that point, I think it only takes one, right? I don't see Arsenal getting 3 in this. I think if Leicester can just get a goal, maybe I'm guessing the team prop for that is shitty.
Yeah, it's -115.
Okay, well, so that may be even in play too.
That's what I was kind of thinking of when you were talking through it. I think Leicester to get a goal at -115. A lot of people will say, well, if you're going to take that, why won't you take both teams to score? You can do that. It's available to you because it's unlikely Arsenal don't score, but we've seen teams not score. Shout out Milan today, you motherfuckers. I'll drink a little more juice and I'll take a 3/4 of a goal. Leicester plus 1 3/4 is sitting at -130. So in that scenario, if Leicester loses by 2, you will get half your money back. Probably be the way I would look at it. I would love to get Leicester plus 2. I don't know if the line will get there.
No, not after the news. Not after the Havertz news, that's for sure.
No.
Which is crazy because it's not like Havertz was there
they're
to
gonna
be
miss
a
his 3
makeshift
goals
striker
this year.
Yeah, like he was there to be a makeshift striker to begin with. Like the fact that he's now hurt and you have, Jesus has been out, Saka's been out, Odegaard has been back, but who knows how healthy he really is. Martinelli, I don't know. I think Martinelli's hurt, right? Yeah, he's out.
Always.
It's just they got nothing left.
Coach got nothing to say because he thought we were going to be on the Arsenal train right there.
Yeah, I didn't even know Havertz got hurt, but yeah, I mean, if you can get them at close to 2 goals, it's not a bad bet, I guess, because I don't know. That Arsenal outburst came kind of out of nowhere, right? Against City, like nobody was expecting them to put up 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah.
They haven't really done it all year, so it'll be interesting how they cope with the injuries. The transfer market's now closed, so there's no reinforcements coming in or possibility of reinforcements coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting.
I think you also have to point out, sorry, just before you move on, Coach, they beat City 5-1, right? And then 3 days later, they lost to Newcastle at home 2-0 in the EFL semifinals. So
and when you were already down on
they're coming
aggregate
in with momentum. Yeah, they're not coming in with a lot of momentum. They're coming in down.
You know what? I forgot that I lost the parlay because I had Arsenal to score 1 goal as the last leg of my parlay, and they were down on aggregate, and they didn't score a fucking goal against Newcastle. I forgot all about that. Thank you for reminding me. Fuck Arsenal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, they makes you feel better. Canada's up 2-0 now, so
it does. Yeah, Canada. We're about to cash this by midway of the game.
All right, moving on to the 10 a.m. slot. That Arsenal game is the early 7:30 a.m. Eastern time slot. Villa, Ipswich, Southampton, Bournemouth. We said we didn't really care for much there, so we're going to skip over those matches. Before we get to the big one at that time slot, we have Fulham, Forest. Forest plus 245 on the road at Fulham. Forest sitting fairly comfortable in third place right now. When you look around them, how are they getting such a big number? I know Fulham can be tricky at times. They're a top half of the table team, but that is a big fat number on Nottingham Forest.
Nick, if you have an answer for that, go for it. Because
I was gonna
really
say I'm gonna have Scott tell us why, because I don't know why, other than the books want me to take Forest so badly, and Fulham has fucked up my bets the entire season. Fulham is one of those teams that is better than you think when you're fading them, and worse than you think when you're tailing them. So that's my take on Fulham. This just, I mean, away from home, I guess, but Forest draw no bet at plus 140 is really, really, really tempting. So Scotty, I'm going to let you talk and convince me one way or the other to do something, but Forest plus a quarter of a goal at minus 110 is really tempting. I don't know.
No, it's a very weird one for me, right? Like when I saw that number, my first thought was, all right, well then what's Forest draw no bet? Because that to
plus
me,
130.
It's plus 130. I see plus 140. Like that was my first instinct, and I saw that number. I was like, done. I have no problem with that, because look, I get that Forest got their wheels blown off by Bournemouth 2 weeks ago, but then they turned it around and did the same thing to Brighton. So they lost 5-0 at Bournemouth. Brighton comes in, they put up 7 on them. Right. So I don't, I'm willing to write both of those off as just like, hey, like those are crazy fucking games, but we've moved on. Historically, going back, like you said, Coach, they're sitting pretty comfortably in third place. Like they're a really strong defensive team. They've got, Chris Wood playing out of his mind, being a striker that can actually convert chances, which seems to be, a rarity in the Premier League right now. Besides like Isak, I don't know if there's another striker that's really that clinical. I don't know. I really like Forest draw no bet. I can see this being a draw. Like it would not surprise me. Nick, you're right. Fulham has been almost impossible to nail down this season. So I could easily see them coming out and having Jimenez have a good game, getting a goal here or there. But I think draw no bet at plus 140 for Forest. That's really hard for me to pass up.
Yeah, and listen, and listen. Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off. Think about where you guys are at, what your tolerance is, because Scotty and Coach are going to take a little more risk and get those beautiful big plus numbers. Plus 140 is a silly number for a third place team on draw no bet. Don't, you know what I mean? I don't care who they're playing.
Team, right? Yeah.
I'm going to play it a little more cautious and give myself a few more outs, and I'm going to lay minus 110 to get plus a quarter of a goal. I think over 2.25 or minus 120 also looks really good, because I don't see any way that there's less than 2 goals in this game. I don't know. I can talk myself into a million things here. Forest over 1.5 goals is plus 205.
Forest over how many? 1.5?
Forest team total plus 205. So now that I say that, like 100%, Fulham's winning this game. Disregard everything we've said to this point in time. That makes the least sense of maybe anything I've read in the last month.
Yeah, Fulham did win the reverse fixture. 1-0 back.
There you have it. Game though,
but that was a while.
Like, is there going to be a fucking blizzard in Fulham this weekend? Like, what the fuck is happening here?
I don't know. I'm looking. I mean, Fulham has had one clean sheet in their last. I mean, since Christmas, they've had 9 matches, 1 clean sheet, and that was against Leicester. So, I mean, maybe the play then is both teams to score over 2.5. What's that? Over 1. That's plus 135.
Is Forest scoring 2?
Let's see. Forest doesn't need to in that case, right?
I know. I'm just like plus 205.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's hit in 7 of their last 10. Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, at that number, it's almost a must play, right? Like,
I think so.
And if you lose it, you just you take it for what it is and you move on. But I think like plus 205, chance to double your money.
Yeah,
is very tempting on a team that's played so well this year.
I have no problem backing Forest in this. Like, I get it. I see all, like, the books are very clearly onto something, but what are you going to do? Because, again, it's that, like, if you don't take this and it hits, you're going to feel like an idiot for passing up on something that was
sometimes when the bait's there, you have to take the bait. And if the books win, you tip your cap to them. But I think like plus 205, plus 140 on the draw no bet. Like, these are just numbers you're not going to see on a team that's playing as well as Forest has all year very often.
And it's like I'm looking at the anytime goal scorer props. When you see something like that, you would expect everybody to be like plus 250 or higher, but it's not. You got Wood, Jimenez, Muniz, Ione is hurt. I'm pretty sure those guys are all under plus 250. It will be Vinicius. Those guys are up a little bit higher.
So it's what this reminds me of. I know we didn't get to the game yet, but I've seen the line already. Like Forest is almost the anti-Man City. Like the books still believe in Man City despite their results week in and week out. The books don't yet believe in Nottingham Forest despite their results week in and week out. Yeah. That's like that. I'm trying to rationalize it because I just talked myself into placing it, but I'm taking plus 205. So I'm just fucking taking it. I don't know what else to tell anybody. It's like they probably get blown out. 3-0 Fulham win. But
again, the draw no bet that I talked about in the beginning, the last time, aside from that 5-0 shellacking at Bournemouth, the last time they had actually lost a game was against City back in the first week of December 4th. So they had a match, 13 consecutive matches, aside from that Bournemouth one where they didn't lose.
Okay.
Yeah, wild lines. Really, really interesting stuff there. At the same time, is City hosting Newcastle City with I don't even know how to describe that loss yesterday to Madrid at home at the Etihad, to blow a lead not once but twice and then lose it at the death 3-2 to Real Madrid. I mean, they have to come into this reeling a bit. And they get this Newcastle side who's plus 270 on the money line on at the Etihad again here. But they're level on points, level on goal differential. Sitting there for that 5th place spot, which 5th place is the magical spot this year because Premier League is going to get 5 Champions League spots again next year. So, I mean, if there were ever a time for a team to really make things difficult for City in the league, I think now is the time because Newcastle would jump them. And then also, increase their goal differential difference here. Like, this is a big game for both teams, but I mean, this could be a statement kind of game for Newcastle and kind of a signal of intent that, hey, maybe City's not going to be back in the Champions League next year. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's like the potential could kind of start here and then maybe snowball.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ramifications for this game. I mean, I'm going to go way off the deep end, so I hope you guys don't mind. But
let's go.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, maybe the way I would describe that collapse for City is it was kind of like an expected gut punch because that's, I think, the 4th or 5th time they've blown a second half lead in the Champions League already this season. Like they've just cannot hold on to leads to save their life. So not too surprising. But yeah, as far as the ramifications go, you nailed it, Coach. Like top 5 is the magical spot. Bournemouth are breathing down both of these teams' necks right now. I think they're 1 point back.
Yeah.
And City, for what it's worth, this was expected to be Pep's last season, and then it's kind of all gone to shit. He extended for another year. If they're not in the Champions League next year, like, what does Pep do? Does he continue? Does he, pack it up in the summer? And he's like, all right, listen, I don't have it in me to kind of go through this full rebuild and just kind of call it a day. Does he extend for 2 years? Because I can't imagine he'd want his last season to be a Champions League list season. Like, imagine him winning, the Conference League, and that's like the last trophy he wins with City. That'd be a very weird send off. So I think there's a lot at stake here. I think the good news for City is they're starting to play a little bit more of like what I would consider like a traditional City lineup where, John Stones is now playing kind of a defensive mid double pivot.
Because they picked up a couple injuries yesterday too, right? Akanji and somebody else, I think, both came off injured.
Yeah, I mean, Akanji's been in and out. I mean, that dude's hamstrings are, made of twine at this point. But yeah, I mean, you still have Haaland who looked, more like himself against Madrid. I think he's one of those strikers that tends to play up to his competition, like the anti-Lukaku, if you will. Yeah. But on the flip side, like I think you can make a case that Isak has been better than him this season. And if you gun to your head, Nick, if you're taking one of these strikers to put on Lazio, it's a great problem to have, but which one are you taking?
I mean, gun to my head, I'm taking Haaland because he's done it literally every year of his career. But current form, I'm taking Isak. And
also to finish the season with Lazio, let's put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. To finish the season, Isak. And I think he's more of a complete player, if that makes sense. Not a more complete goal scorer, but I think he gives you more than Haaland gives you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no certainties in this one. I think the only certainties are there going to be lots of goals, and I think that's obvious by the spread here. Over 3.5 is plus 100. That's crazy. But, as far as who wins, I understand the line for City. Like, it feels very heavy. Minus 115. I don't know that I put them there given their league form. But it seems like they might be rounding a corner a little bit. This is typically the time of year they turn it on. It's almost now or never for them. So at home, you got to kind of circle the wagons. Does Pep have it up his, another card up his sleeve that he can pull out? I don't know. But it's a crazy number for Newcastle, and I wouldn't begrudge people for taking it, but I don't. I'm probably trying to find something else.
Kind of like what I said. And listen, very difficult to pick a side in this game for a lot of reasons, but kind of like what I said, the books still believe in Manchester City. They don't take their current season, their form into account. That being said, they are at home. They have looked much, with the exception of getting blasted by Arsenal, they've looked much better in the league. But like Coach said at the top, demoralizing loss, much deserved loss to Real Madrid. And you got to turn around and go back there next week.
Yeah.
So are they going to rotate a little bit? What are they focusing on? Do they think they can get something from that tie? Or to Scotty's point, do they have to go all in this game to make sure they finish top 4? So those are the questions I'm going to be asking. I don't think there's any need to put in anything at this present time unless you're locking in Newcastle, because I don't think the Newcastle number gets better. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one. Should you be fading City in this spot because it's a look ahead spot for them? I think you should. Should you be fading them because they've just been terrible pretty much all year and can't stop anybody from scoring? Yes, you should. So we'll all obviously be rooting for Newcastle. I hope Newcastle gets something out of it. Still tricky to get involved in. It's just a weird game, weird situation. But best of luck to anybody that's taking Newcastle.
I do have a prop, though, if anybody wants to play a fun prop with me.
Always.
Shots on target. We're going to Josko Vardiol. Plus 250, 1+ shots on target, which is crazy because I think they're like third or fourth leading goal scorer, maybe third, I think, at this point.
I mean, he created that whole goal for Haaland. Like, the dude is, he's the furthest forward fucking defender on the planet. Like, more so than Theo, more so than Hakimi, more so than Dumfries. Like, this dude is might as well be a striker.
He's averaging 1.2 shots per game. 40% of those shots are on target. So again, it's not a certainty, but he's going to have at least one shot, probably two in this, given it's probably going to be a more up and down game. So yeah, I like him at plus 250. It's like, why not? Just for one.
Yeah, that's a big number on a guy like that. That, like Nick said, gets so far forward, created that goal for Haaland, right? He gets into the attack, and I think you made a great point, Nick, about the having to go to Madrid, right? Are they putting their eggs in the Champions League basket still, where they're going to go with their full strength lineup to Madrid, knowing they have injuries? Do you rotate a couple guys here to try to save some legs because you're going to have to come back in Madrid? It's going to be interesting. Like, this is definitely a match where the books, I think, are overvaluing City in terms of their past, right, and their reputation and who they are, because they have not performed to this number. So that'll be interesting to see where the lineups are. I think Nick's right. I think obviously the Newcastle number can only get worse. If you think Newcastle's going to win this match, you take the money line down, you lock in the plus 270 that I'm looking at right here on DraftKings, or if you find it better elsewhere. But I think lineups could affect what you play here too, and even are the goal number. I
think Newcastle's got some injuries in their back lines
Isak's
too.
Plus 120, so it's not that great. I was wondering if it was any better, but
yeah, Newcastle they're going to be without Dan Burn. I think they got another injury back there too. Let me see. I was looking through this earlier today. Oh yeah, Botman's also hurt. So there's definitely going to be opportunities for City. You just got to find which, maybe take a couple, right? You can probably take a couple players.
No, I think you found a good one. You're not going to get much better at plus 250 for something that's as likely to happen as anything else.
Doesn't even have to score; just has to get the keeper has to
shot on
save
target.
on him. Yeah.
No, I dig it.
I missed. There was one other match at this 10 a.m. Eastern time slot on Saturday. West Ham is hosting Brentford. Pretty good numbers on both sides. Obviously, West Ham is not a trustworthy side from what we've seen all season.
Never.
What are you guys looking at here, if anything?
I love Brentford team total over 1.5 in this. It's plus 110.
Yep.
The Bees, they've been playing pretty well. I mean, they had a tough run against. I think they had City, then Liverpool. I'm trying to remember who they played against before Liverpool, but they had a tough run.
West Ham bleeds goals too,
and West Ham actively chooses not to play defense. So yeah, I'm a believer in Brentford getting a little bit of a bounce back here. Like I said, tough sledding for them in recent games, but there's no better cure for offensive woes than West Ham's defense, and I think they can take advantage. So I'd happily take the over 1.5 at plus 110 here.
I dig it. Paquetá to get a card plus 200. If it's plus 200 or better, I'm taking it every game. It hits every other game at least. That's all I got. But I do agree Brentford seems like the side here. Draw no bet wouldn't upset me.
Yeah. Agreed.
Plus 105 for that. But I like Scotty's bet.
All right. The late Saturday match, 12:30 Eastern here on the East Coast is Palace hosting Everton. Everton coming up a big late draw against Liverpool today.
Big draw for them.
Carrying some momentum. Plus 340 on the money line. Is there any value here with Everton? Maybe are they going to continue and get another result of some sort?
Some are saying,
play?
I don't know how true it is, but I've read Everton have as many points as Tottenham.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, broken record. I've been saying it for now. This is the third week in a row I've said it, but Moyes, not a good manager. Everton, not a good football club or team. But when you put the two of them together, it works. I don't get it, but it does. And so, double chance here is minus 115 against a Palace team that is pretty brutal most of the time. They have I guess they've been in good form the last month, but I don't know. Is that really going to continue? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that the win that's actually just a draw against Liverpool today is kind of like a, they blew their load. They're going to be coming in on a...
no way. So they're undefeated in 4. They big momentum, big shift there with that draw today. Both teams to score. Oaks, I'm with you. It's minus 105 on DraftKings. Everton has been involved in a lot of over games. I wouldn't be mad at anybody that took over 2.5 at plus 120. But you absolutely have to back Everton. They are the hottest side in England right now. Everton double chance is minus 115. Give that to me all day in this spot.
All right. Yeah,
I have nothing good to say about Palace.
Yeah. No, I get so frustrated because I know the second I start speaking well of Palace, that's when they go back to being shit again, and then it's just like, I changed my tune too soon. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue to call them a very overrated team.
Beto to score plus 280.
Yeah, looked great today for the first 35 minutes or so against Liverpool, and definitely got a little bit tired.
Well, it's not used to that much game time.
Yeah, it's got a lot of minutes in those legs.
Used to not get 40 minutes in a fucking month, right?
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to Sunday. So we've only got 2 matches Sunday, close out the weekend. First one is your side, Scott. Liverpool hosting Wolves. You said nothing here. You looked through the lines. Nothing that really.
No, there's nothing here. Liverpool picked. I mean, the other thing is Slot's not going to be managing this game, so I don't really think you can sit here and try and take Liverpool with like minus 1 and 1.5. It's going to be kind of a meh game at home for Liverpool, I'd expect. I also don't really know what the forward situation is going to be because they've been playing a lot of games. They've been trying to rotate. I'm very much out on Luis Diaz. I sent it in the group. In the interest of fairness, because I know I've been ragging on some forwards lately, I said in the group chat today, I don't think anyone's benefited from the dialogue surrounding Darwin Nunez's like mediocre finishing and like how bad and inconsistent he can be more than Luis Diaz, because that guy just disappears for months at a time. Doesn't contribute any goals, no assists. He's just like a guy that looks like he dribbles well, but somehow still dribbles into his defender more times than not. And so I'm very much done with Diaz playing a false 9 or left wing. Like Gakpo has played much better this season, so I'm happy just to keep him on the left wing, keep Salah on the right wing. Szoboszlai can play in that 10 position. And if it's not Jota, then I'd rather have Nunez playing in the 9. I know that Nunez does not finish well, but like at least he assists. Like, he assists Salah a ton. He makes crazy runs. He plays a lot of, defensive track. He tracks back defensively a lot more than Diaz does. I'm kind of done with Diaz. So I don't know who the forward's going to be in this one. I'm assuming Salah's going to start on the right. I'm hoping Gakpo's back on the left, even though he was invisible today against Everton. But I don't trust anybody to score outside of those two guys unless Jota is going to get the start in this. But they seem very hesitant to play Jota more than like 50, 60 minutes at a time, given his injury record.
Yeah, I was kind of going to say this feels like a Gakpo scores game, but the number sucks, so I'm not going to take it. I'm with Scotty. There's really nothing to do here unless you think Liverpool, unless you think Wolves get a goal, which Wolves tend to score. And obviously we saw today, Liverpool's defense, not going to say they've fallen off, but they're going through a little bit of a rough patch, I think is fair to say. So minus 115 on both teams to score is somewhat interesting. Plus 120, both teams to score, no draw, which we would believe Liverpool win in the 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 fashion. Those would be the only places I look. Otherwise, it's a complete pass for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to look and see what the deal is with Cunha, because if he's starting, shot on target for him is minus 110. I mean, I would take that.
It seems pretty good, yeah.
That's probably the play, because he's typically one of the two guys up there for Wolves. That's, when they try to counter, he's there. So, yeah, maybe Cunha minus 110 shot on target. That's the best I can find in this game.
All right. So last weekend here in the U.S., we had the Super Bowl. This weekend in the Premier League in Manchester at Old Trafford, we have what some are calling the toilet bowl or the dumpster bowl. I don't know, the garbage bowl. Some kind of bowl that's not super, because Spurs is hosting United, two teams struggling mightily. Spurs really, Ange, things have gone south for them. Things have not been much better for United. I saw a stat, I think the new manager, his name is escaping me right now, but he was
Amorim.
Mora was the fastest one to lose a certain number of matches in his United tenure in some time. So
it was like Mourinho never happened or something, right? Like it was. Yeah. I remember that being like the standout headline. It was like, man, like how time it took brand new United manager to lose like 5 home matches or some shit, and it was like, this Mourinho guy 6 games and like Mourinho not.
Yeah. I mean, so that being said, I mean, these two teams are desperate for points, and I mean, something's got to give, but it could end just being a draw and nobody wins again. So what do you see in this one?
It's like, two teams very desperate for a win here.
13th and 14th place. Let me add that, by the way, before you.
Everton could pass them both.
Yeah.
Certainly could. And yeah, I think the most fitting narrative here is that this ends in a draw, plus 275, because, I think Ange had the quote where he's like, every time he thinks he sees the light at the end of the tunnel, it just turns out to be an oncoming train. And I think that's really where Amorim is at too, where it's just like he can't get his feet underneath him, because this Manchester United squad is just so rotted throughout its very core. Like, there's no, aside from like maybe Amad Diallo, there's really like no shining light that they can kind of rest their hopes on. They really have to gut the squad entirely, which they're starting to do. But that's going to be an 18-month, 3-window process. So, I think it's going to be an extended period of pain for United. That'd be my guess. I would never advocate anybody to bet in either of these teams to win right now, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for me, like the narrative seems to fit that this is going to end like a 1-1, 2-2 draw, where like one of these teams coming in thinking they're going to get 3 points, and maybe that's kind of what gives them a little bit of momentum to finish the season. But, let's be realistic. They're not playing for anything at this point. They're not in threat of relegation. They're not going to be qualifying for a spot in Europe. They're just trying to individuals are trying to make a case for why they should stay in the squad. No. And managers are trying to figure out who the fuck they can trust to keep on the squad for next season. So I don't know. Like I said, draw plus 275. The narrative fits. That's probably where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I dig that.
Wild too. I was just, before you go, Nick, I'm just going to throw in looking at stats. Like, you look at the Premier League table and you look at the goal differential. Spurs is still a plus 11 goal differential team. They're surrounded by teams with negative goal differentials, right? I mean,
United.
Yeah. Villa is up in 8th place at a -3. Everybody above Villa from 7th place up is a positive goal differential. The only other team besides Spurs below that is Fulham is at +4. But like Spurs is the joint third highest scoring team with City in the league, and their defense 37 conceded is like a mid-table defense, but it just feels like when you score that much, you shouldn't be in 14th place.
Weren't we talking about Spurs as like a lock for top 5 in November? Or do I have that? Was that last season? Like
that was last season.
Okay, blends into each other.
Yeah.
But no, the reason I asked that is because you're putting out these stats, coach. Like they went on a run early this year of just having a ton of goals in every game.
Yeah, just pounding teams, right?
So I was trying to talk myself into an over because both defenses stink. But then I was like, well, who's going to score?
Yeah.
I was trying to talk myself into an under, but both defenses stink.
Yeah.
So I'm with Scotty 100% here. I think the draw is a decent look. There's nobody you can really trust to do anything. I mean, I'm looking at the projected lineup. I'm looking at the goal scorers listed. Who's scoring the goals?
Like for Spurs, it's going to be Matthias Tell, the kid that they just got in from Bayern, because he's going to be playing in the 9 position. I think a Son. I think his legs are kind of cooked.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking at Bruno only because he's plus 250, not for any other reason. I just think that's a big number for him.
Kulusevski at plus 350 seems odd. He's been Spurs' best player all season. I know he's more of a creator, but he still has scored a bunch for them. So maybe even he's a decent shout at plus 350. But
yeah, I'm not finding 3 goals.
Yeah.
I don't care whose defense is good, whose defense is bad. It's tough to pick. But I would say if you're interested in the side, Tottenham at home, I would probably take them draw no bet if I was picking the side.
Yeah, I think anything involving the draw is probably the safer play here. All right, that wraps the Premier League. We could head over to Serie A, so let's switch things over. Just gonna pull up.
Man, we got to get a Premier League background. We've been stealing this Oaks Italy background, just chilling.
All right, so weekend kicks off with a Friday match: Bologna hosting Torino.
So gross.
Minus 130 on the money line at home. Torino plus 380 on the road. We know Torino's an under team, Nick. I mean, to me, minus 130 is a pretty good number on Bologna.
Yeah, you think that until you remember that Bologna did not score a goal last week to Lecce, and it was really shitty. Yes. They almost scored. They almost stole it at the end. I had Castro plus 250, and he almost scored a goal.
And get this, Torino's no losses in their last 7. Bologna no losses in their last 9.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Bologna hasn't lost in 2 months. I didn't know about Torino. Yeah. Good for them. I mean, but out of that, they have to have like 6 draws of 7, or at least 5 out of 7. So yeah.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 out of 8 or 6 out of 7. 6 of those 7 are draws.
Do we just not even overthink it and take the draw? Is it a both teams to score draw?
Well, both teams are under in pretty much all their matches lately. Torino in 6 straight, Bologna in 5 straight, under 2.5. This feels like an under match based on that. The head-to-head earlier in the season was a 2-0 Bologna win in Torino. That was actually in December, not that long ago, the way the calendar flipped. So I don't know if it's even a both teams to score. It just feels kind of like an under. It does feel like it could be a draw because Torino's finding some form.
Yeah, it's tough. Bologna's 3 best players are hurt. So, I mean, that's definitely a struggle, right? Orsolini, Ferguson, and who else is hurt?
Not Castro.
No, somebody else got hurt. It's skipping me. But, I don't know what to do here. I mean, Bologna, they're trapping you with that minus 130. I would say stay away.
This way, the under is minus 175 here.
Yeah.
So the books are onto it. So
tells you everything you need to know.
It's going to be a tough one. I mean, the only value here might be if you think Torino can keep their not win streak, their unbeaten streak going. Maybe there's value in taking the draw plus 230 if they get some kind of result. Let me see what the double chance number is.
Yeah, if you think you're doing that, Torino plus 3/4 of a goal is minus 125.
Yeah, that's where you got to go. You got to go toward that like double chance plus 3/4 of a goal range. You can't even really go double chance because getting a goal there minus 200.
Or if you think they score, they're minus 135 to score a goal.
Minus 135 score, yeah. That's if they can score, right? This could be another 0-0 type draw, right?
Plus 700 for that.
What's saying they can't do it in this one? All right.
Plus 700 for that. I don't know. Scotty, so much enthusiasm for this game. Like, I just see him like, why would they put this on a Friday?
Because nobody's watching on Friday.
Correct.
Around the world.
Yeah, we get to watch Brighton and Chelsea on Friday instead.
At least that one should have goals. These are like polar opposite matches on Friday afternoon. So, pick your poison. Lisi says Bologna double chance and under 2.5 minus 125. I don't hate that.
That's pretty solid.
That's a pretty good number. I didn't think you'd even get that good of a number involving the Bologna double chance.
Can we juice that up to -3?
I mean, that's gonna be like minus 150.
Yeah, if it is, I wouldn't take it.
Yeah, and I don't know about your books, but I don't think you can parlay Asian lines on DraftKings.
Racist.
Yeah. All right. Saturday morning, Atalanta Cagliari. Atalanta, very disappointing result. Bit of a bogus penalty, very questionable penalty at the end for Bruges, but that notwithstanding, Atalanta did not do enough to win today. So they're going to have to really focus on that match in Bergamo next midweek in the Champions League to get through to the round of 16, which is expected of them, being the Europa League winners from last year, playing a team from a not top 5 league. And it brings Cagliari here on the weekend. So Atalanta still very big favorites. I expect some rotation from them, though. Gasperini likes to rotate as it is when he gets a congested schedule. He's not afraid to do it. So I do expect rotation. I don't know where you go here, though. I don't trust Cagliari to get a result necessarily, but I'm also not going to back Atalanta at such a juiced up number.
Can I ask you guys a throwback question? Because I feel like I remember this from when we first started the podcast, almost 3 years now. Atalanta is not a very good home team.
Terrible home team.
Because I was going to say, I'm looking at it right now. They have just one win in 2025 at home in their last 5. It's been 5 matches at home. Yeah. And that's against Sturm Graz in the Champions League, who finished 30th place in the league table.
Yeah.
So this feels kind of like a warning game to me, where it's like, Atalanta's getting a lot of, favoritism or whatever, benefit of the doubt from the books here, but I don't know. Like, is there a chance to fade them with the spread on this?
Yeah.
Do you really have that much faith in them?
There is. I just saw it and I just lost it. I mean,
thank you, Lisi. I knew that. I remembered that. I was like, this feels like
getting a goal and a quarters minus 120. But I still don't know if I trust Cagliari enough.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
My money on them, right? Like this might just be a skip for me.
I think so. Cagliari's a tough team. So Scott, like every point you're making is correct. Atalanta's not as good at home. They have a very important game coming up. Cagliari is actually a pesky little team. They score every single game. So all those things could happen. But Atalanta, they absolutely, truly cannot afford to start dropping points in the league either. I mean, I really do think they fucked themselves with that result today. They're not 100% their fault, but they didn't take their chances either. So they've just been so average in Serie A the last month and a half. So yeah, could you fade them? Absolutely. Could they come out and score 3 goals in the first half?
Yeah,
sure.
Get some hungry guys that don't start all the time that are goal hungry.
I would consider a first half money line for Atalanta at minus 110. That's about as far as I'll go.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to touch this one. In all honesty, I think I'm going to stay away. All right, that brings us to the big one on Saturday. Noon Eastern, Lazio hosting Napoli. It is Lazio plus 160 at home, Napoli plus 165 on the road. This is kind of reminiscent of the line that Napoli got when they were at the Olimpico a couple weeks ago against Roma, match that they ended up drawing to end their winning streak, but they're still unbeaten in their last 9. Interestingly, Lazio without a clean sheet in 5, Napoli without a clean sheet in 4.
Oh no, what was interesting about that?
It was more the Napoli part of it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it was more the Napoli giving up a goal in 4 straight. I should have maybe led with them. I was just reading it off the list on SofaScore. Both teams scoring in both of these teams' matches recently 4 of the last 5.
That's not true. We shut them out in the cup.
That was probably
no. He's saying in 4 of their last 5 like this year, not like against
each team.
Yeah,
head to head.
not against each other. Both teams in 4 of the last 5 matches, they've had both teams scoring. So Lazio won in Naples back in early December, 1-0. Huge win for them. I'm sure Napoli's gonna remember that, and being top of the table, they're gonna want to continue this hot run they're on. But they have drawn back-to-back matches. They did draw Udinese last weekend after drawing Roma the week before. That to them, bad drop. 2 drop points. So what are you seeing here, Nick? Because there's value on both teams. I'm sure there's other value around the board if you look. Can your boys do it again? Can they pull the double on the league leaders?
No, I think it's exceptionally difficult to beat a team 3 times in the same year and 3 times in like the last 2 months at that. That being said, Arsenal did, I think, lose 3 times to Newcastle this year. So put that one situation aside. I think it'd be really a lot to ask of Lazio, who are in the midst of a very brutal stretch of schedule, to get a win in this game, even though they are at home. I think Napoli, draw no bet, -110. Seems like a runaway play. Napoli cannot afford to lose this game. They just can't. Cannot get 2 points out of 3 games. So I think the draw is kind of the minimum result for them in this one. Now, that said, they are pretty banged up. But Lazio's defense hasn't looked good. Provedella's looked even worse. I don't think Conte will allow 3 bad results in a row when this is literally all they have to play for. I'd be really, really shocked. Napoli -110.
All right. Getting my Napoli hater hat on.
Oh, I love it.
It's on. Nick, I couldn't disagree with you more. Lazio have Napoli's number. Have not lost to Napoli in their last 4 matches, 3-1-0. Napoli, 2 consecutive draws. What does that coincide with, Nick? Let's see. They will beat Juve January 25th. Then they draw against Roma February 2nd, draw against Udinese February 9th. In between that Roma and Juve game, transfer window closed. Nothing happened except a whole lot of complaints from Conte. This is usually where he starts to spiral. And I think, like I said last year, where the Napoli is bound to have their wheels fall off at some point, I think that time might be now. So I like Lazio. Draw no bet, -115 at home. I think they're going to get the win here, but I'll take the draw protection just because you never know. Crazy shit happens sometimes.
Yep.
And I think this is where Napoli start to take the nosedive and remove themselves from the Scudetto conversation. There.
Coach, you got to
Napoli hater hat off.
I love it. You got to cast the winning vote here.
Yeah, I mean, you said Napoli on the draw no bet, right? Was your play?
I did.
Yeah, the -110. I think that's the play. I don't see Napoli losing to Lazio again.
Who's scoring for Napoli?
I can see it being a draw. I can see
who's scoring for Napoli. Tell me who's scoring for Napoli.
McTominay.
Jokes.
I mean, if it was against Roma, it'd be at one of the X's. Are there any ex-Lazio players in this team where you guys cursed as well? Because...
Can we get some love in the chat? Who do you guys think? A lot of listening to us, not a lot of telling us who you think is going to win. But no, I think it's Napoli, Coach. I think you're. But Scotty, I mean, good point. I mean, who really is going to score? I don't know. I think
Lukaku's legs are due to start to fade.
Yeah,
right? Like I think he's had a good, a better than I would have expected first half of the season. He's close to double-digit goals already. Yeah, McTominay, are you really going to rely on a double pivot midfielder to get you 7, 8, 9 goals in a season? Like that's kind of crazy. And then after that, it's a drop off. You have Anguissa. I don't even know who else. Nobody else is even close. With like multiple goals.
Okafor +400. If he gets subbed on, he's probably like a +600, +700 player if he's not starting. So I do kind of dig that.
Politano, ex-Roma Youth Academy player, will.
So this is what Lazio do, though. Lazio will like make the most FIFA creative player guy that never does anything in their career score a wonder goal against them. So like, could that happen in this game? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't bet on wonder goals. That's not my.
This is you got to admit though, I've been pretty spot on about Lazio this year. Like every game you ask me, I've been pretty fucking on about the results.
I feel like you've always been more hesitant than not, though, which is tough.
When I tell you they're going to come out and win, they come out and do it.
Yeah, well, that happens like when they play like Verona.
Well,
even sometimes not then.
Well,
Monza
speaking
last
of
week.
Verona,
Monza.
what a segue for our next match, which is another disappointing Champions League team from Italy, Milan, who lost
Disgusting.
against
I thought you
Feyenoord
were
after
say
giving
Verona
up.
for a second. I was like, Coach, you
Well,
gotta check your facts.
They are playing Hellas Verona, hosting Hellas Verona, the same Hellas they gave up 5 to Atalanta last weekend. I think 4 of them were scored by Retegui himself.
Yes.
I mean, this is, again, huge money line for Milan, I'm sorry. They do have to look ahead to the Champions League on the midweek. I mean, can Verona get a goal? Can they
minus
make
110
it interesting and maybe a both teams to score scenario? You're not going to play Milan, obviously. Both teams to score minus 110.
Yeah. Milan, you guys disgust me right now. And it pains me to say, because I've been on the show all year praising you. I have a top 4 ticket. I have a to win the Scudetto ticket that obviously got thrown in the trash, but it was plus 700 when I bet it.
Did you at least rip it up first?
Well, it's digital
ticket.
It's a digital ticket.
It's the worst.
I could I could take a screenshot and delete it. I don't know. I can cash out. Ahmed, what's up, dude? So I'm like, every week I come to praise them. I come to believe in them. And every week I get burned. Today was a very bad example. Mignon, this is what he's known for. Stop the fucking shots at the near post, dude. But they didn't do the thing. Leao had another nothing game. Pulisic had a fucking terrible game. I don't think anybody played well. But this new Milan, like I want to believe in them week in and week out because they addressed their biggest problem, which is a terrible coach. They addressed their second biggest problem, which is Morata and Tammy not scoring fucking any goals. And I think there's a lot of runway for them going forward, right? And I say that week in and week out. I think Juve will fall off a little bit. I think Lazio will fall off a little bit. We're in the midst of a very tough schedule. Fiorentina kind of came back down to earth, but they're still scoring a lot of goals, so I don't really know what to make of them. Like, top 4 is there for the taking, guys. So I don't know what the fuck you're doing week in and week out. You better blow the fucking balls off of Verona this game. I want to come in. I want 3 goals from Milan, over 2.5, plus 145, just for them. That's what I want to see. Will that happen? I don't know, because they have to fucking come home and score 2 or 3 goals against Feyenoord. So I don't know what they're going to get. They should not be minus 290 in this game, even though Hellas is fucking terrible. That's really I went on my monologue to say that. Be very, very, very careful. Milan will be looking ahead. That's all I'm going to say. But they should score 3 goals in their fucking sleep against this team.
Yeah. It's a matter of if they give one up and maybe the both teams to score becomes in play. But hard team to trust right now.
They're the Chelsea of Italy in more ways than one.
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean, half their
team
is Chelsea.
They have half the team too. So yeah.
Half of the team is Chelsea, and then they threw in Kyle Walker just to make things like even worse.
Yeah. Fuck. And I love it. We have like all Milan fans in the chat, and I love all you guys, but fuck. Like, I feel like a fan. I'm so fucking frustrated with this team. I'm more frustrated with you than I am with Lazio. Make me money.
Last weekend, I woke up at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday because I had to out of obligation to Roma. I will not be doing that this Sunday for Fiorentina hosting Como, but there is... tell me if this is a trap line or not, but Fiorentina at home minus 110 hosting Como. I mean, that seems too good to be true to me. Like, I know they lost to Inter the second time they played last weekend or Monday, whenever it was. But I mean, this is like minus 110 is a really good number.
Como's back to where I thought they'd be, which is a point above the relegation zone. So they've lost 3 straight. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. They've spent a shitload of money. I think they spent the second most amount after Manchester City in January, if I have that correct.
They were up in the top 5 for sure.
But they're just not very good. And Fiorentina is better. Fiorentina's picked it up, right? I mean, yeah, they had a tough loss to Inter, but they've pretty much picked up the slack a little bit. Is it a trap line? Potentially. I think this could be a pretty solid both teams to score. It's minus 140. It's pretty chalky, but I do kind of like that. Moise Kean, you're giving me plus 180 on the guy that's second in the league in goals against a relegation team. I think that's good. My boy Nico Paz is only at plus 400, so I probably won't take it this game, which means he'll score. But if you want a guy that gets shots on target, 2 shots on target for him is fucking automatic. But yeah, to answer your question, Steve, I don't know what type of lineup Fiorentina is going to trot out there, but they should win this game. Como has not looked good, and they certainly haven't looked good away from home.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I'd probably wait till you see starting lineups or at least projected formations. But this seems like
there you go, plus 137. That's like
shot on target.
That's insane. Bet that's automatic.
Yeah, this just feels like to me like a match you have to take. Fiorentina at home. No Conference League to worry about in the midweek, as far as I know. Yeah, losses in 3 straight for Como without a clean sheet in 6 straight. I mean, these teams, though, I could see both teams a scoreline because you have over 2.5 in 8 of Fiorentina's last 9, 4 of Como's last 5. Both teams scoring, both teams 5 out of 6 in their recent matches. So goals could be in the cards. Fiorentina won the reverse fixture back in November 2-0. Como did have a red card in that match. But, yeah, I mean, if you look at Fiorentina's form before the Como match, I mean, before the Inter match that they just lost, I mean, they beat Inter 3-0. They beat Genoa, they beat Lazio, and they drew Torino. I mean, not a bad 4-match stretch before losing 2-1 to Inter.
Their team total is minus 105 if you're more interested in that than a money line.
Yeah, not bad either. I don't know if Como gets 2, though, right? Like, if they get 2, they're almost winning. It's almost like they're almost interchangeable to me.
Right. I mean, we have this discussion every week. Yeah. Which way...
like there's certain matches where you feel the opponent could also get 2, and then like, okay, that team total, if I get a 2-2 draw, I'm good. Like this doesn't feel like one of those matches. This feels like if they get
I got positive plus 425. I'll probably take that. That's not bad.
All right. 9 a.m. Sunday, we have a couple matches. We have Monza hosting Lecce, Udinese hosting Empoli. Anything jump out at you guys there? Or do we just move along?
Maybe you can skip those.
No, gross.
All right. Parma is hosting Roma at the noon Sunday match. Roma minus 110 on the money line. Now, they do have this is sandwiched between 2 Europa League matches, so that you have to take that into consideration. Roma goes to Porto tomorrow. We're recording Wednesday night. And then next Thursday, they host Porto in the second leg. So should be some lineup rotation for Roma in this one, but Parma has not been very good lately. So
they've been terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
They haven't won a game since in 2025. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind taking Roma on the money line in this case. I get your point, Coach, where they kind of have to focus on European commitments, but I mean, what are you doing if you can't beat this Parma team in the form they're in right now?
Fact. Yeah, no, and I was going to say, I think even with the rotation, I think you still have to take them on at that number. And I think where you could find value here is depending on who he rotates, Ranieri. If you get like El Shaarawy starting on the weekend, but he didn't start in the midweek, right? He's plus 320 on anytime goal scorer right now. If Shimordov gets a start because they want to play Dovbyk the 2 Thursday matches, like he's plus 320. He's been a little bit better lately when he has played. Like there's some pretty fat numbers out there depending on who starts. Baldanzi, Sule, like all these guys are over plus 300. I know there's no lock on any of them, but there's value.
Looks like the books finally caught on to both teams to score for Parma, and it's now minus 175.
Yep.
The Roma team total, to me, this is an absolute smash spot at minus 120. I cannot see a way Roma don't score 2 goals. If I had a game of the year left, bet of the year left, that could potentially be a bet of the year. Like it's that kind of material.
Left. Can I talk you into Roma money line and over 1.5 at plus 125?
You absolutely could.
Man,
in what scenario are they scoring 2 but not winning this game?
0.
Are they conceding 3 to Parma?
Roma's defense is not like anything impenetrable this season, but when I see clean sheet at plus 200, like that's, I don't know, it's a little tempting.
No, Parma scores every game. They're the number 1 both teams to score team like in Europe, I think. Oh, Canada gave up a goal. Bums.
Well, that'll force them to score more, Nick. We need them to score 4. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Parma both teams scoring 4 of the last 5, but reverse fixture was a 5-0 drubbing by Roma at the Olimpico in December. So, one of the few matches Roma really played well. So, take it for what it is. Two penalties.
It's like 5, it's so bad that the coach has to relive a win against Parma. Like that's how fucking bad Roma's year is. Oh, you're up to 9th.
Yeah, watch out.
Nice.
Watch out.
Positive
watch
goal
out.
differential. So you're
Yeah.
like Tottenham. That's good.
Unbeaten in 7, 6,
Nice.
7.
In the league, when you take out Europe, yeah, they're unbeaten in
Oh,
quite a few. Yeah.
Nice.
The last loss
Congrats.
was Como, I believe, in the league.
Oh yeah, my game of the year. Never forget.
Which is
Probably
why they
Como's
lost.
last win, if we're being honest.
Yeah, probably why they lost and probably why Como won.
Yeah, probably their last win.
All right, biggest one of the weekend in Italy, or at least up there with Lazio and
I'd say it's
Napoli
bigger.
in terms of well, table positions are similar with these matchups, but it's the Derby d'Italia. Juve hosting Inter. Inter now has played all their games in hand, so they're a point behind Napoli in the table. Juve coming off a very big win for them yesterday, 1-0, right? Was the final, or 2-1 against
2-1.
PSV.
Yep.
I always have them pegged for an under. That's why I couldn't remember they actually had 3 goals in that match. But it was it's Juve plus 250 on the money line. Inter Milan plus 120 on the money line. There is definitely value there if you like one of the teams to win. The over is 2.5 at plus 105. The under minus 140. What do you like, Nick?
Inter have to win this game pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
They have to get something. I think a draw at plus 205 tells you everything you need to know. The draw is like the least surprising outcome on the planet for this particular matchup. Juve did themselves well by getting a result against PSV, right? But they do have that.
Have the reverse. Yeah,
they still have the reverse fixture. It's not a guarantee. PSV could score, they could score 2-3 goals anytime they want, right? They're that kind of team. So I'm wondering how much they rotate. I'm wondering how much they look ahead. Johnny's got a point here. They're due for a draw. All I see is
they are always due for a draw.
Their fans are bragging on social media right now that Juve have won 3 games in a row in the league. Like, it's insane to me that like Juve's new level is that they won 3 games in a row. Like that's what they're celebrating, right? Like, far fall from grace for Juventus. So a draw wouldn't shock me, but Inter absolutely have to get something out of this game. Like, they have to win.
Yeah.
It would be a grave disappointment for them to walk away with 1 or 0 points. Lautaro at plus 225 is the best number you'll probably see on him all season. Kolo Muani at plus 300 is kind of insane considering he has 5 goals in the 3 games he's played in the league or something like that. I don't know. I think there's a ton of value if you want to pick apart different props and players and things like that, but tough to call on a side here. I mean, you got to take Inter money line if the plus 120 is a great number for them, but it just really, really scares me. Something fishy.
Yeah, I mean, they've dropped their results this season. That's why they're in the position they're in, but plus 120 is a good number.
They just haven't looked convincing. They haven't looked convincing
they haven't
all season. And they especially haven't looked convincing in a month.
I agree. I agree there.
That's kind of where I'm at. Thuram hasn't scored in how long? Rhetorical question. I'm just saying, I'm trying to remember. He had like 12 goals the first 2 months of the year, and he has 13 now.
Yeah.
Not great. For what it's worth, I'm also on board. I think Inter have to win this. Money line plus 120. If we're doing fun props, what's the deal? I mean, listen, not a Coop Miners fan by any means. I think I've been a long time detractor of him. He's not hurt, right? Like, he's expected to
he's
play
just
in
bad.
This. He's plus 205 shot on target.
Yeah, it's
a crazy number. Again, averaging 1.3 shots per game, accuracy 40%. Like, you're talking about a coin flip here. It's a 50-50 shot that he's probably. I mean, the last game they played was a 4-4, offensive extravaganza. Even if you get half of that, I think you're going to see at least 1 or 2 Coop Miner shots. Just need to hopefully steer it in the direction of the keeper. Or the net. I kind of dig that. Care.
What's Hakan shot on target? Is it playable?
He's plus 175
for a shot on target. Oh, that's silly. Takes all their free kicks too.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if that's because he's not fully healthy and he's not going to maybe play the full 90, but that's kind of out there.
Yeah. trying to think. I mean, I got burned on my Dumfries shot on target was that last week or 2 weeks ago? So I can't go with him again because he's also plus money, plus 130.
Oh, man. I don't know, Coach. Hit me with some analysis. What's happening here?
I mean, I think Inter is the play, right? They're the team that needs it more, I think, but it is at the Allianz. You know, as the Juve fans have pointed out, like you said, three in a row in the league.
Both teams to score at minus 130. Man, just
wild that we're talking about these teams like this being so unreliable. They've only lost a combined 3 matches in the league.
Oh,
kind of crazy.
At least you with a good stat here. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That shot on target number is way too good to pass up.
Yeah.
Both of those guys. Inter first goal minus 135. I don't know.
That's not. I mean, minus 135 is not nearly good enough.
Yeah.
I'm really.
If they score first, I mean, I guess you could still draw. Yeah. Okay. If they score first, I don't see how plus 120 money line doesn't hit, but I guess you could still seed. Man.
Goal scored up to the 30th minute, minus 110. I'm reaching. I just don't know. I
think it's time to stop with this one.
No, you know why? Because Inter money line is too obvious, and it just it's scaring me. Like better
it's
team.
Not too obvious because Juve just draw. That's all they do.
I know.
Yeah.
So scary. What?
The plus 120 is not because they think Inter can lose this game. It's because they think that Juve can do what they do best in this draw.
Yes.
That's the only reason why.
Juve draw will have their fans fucking celebrating like they won something. It's going to be terrible.
You're not wrong.
It's going to be fucking horrific.
All right, Nick, one more gun to your head question. Given the 2 big matches in Italy that we discussed, who is sitting top of the table come Monday?
I think it's still Napoli.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Napoli beats Lazio.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Inter. I think this is where Inter
make their move.
They make their move. I know that they'll be level on games played finally.
So let's quickly do a. Let me pull out my Coach Steve. Yeah. Check those out. Pull those up while I pull up the schedule here.
Inter minus 130, Napoli plus 140, Atalanta plus 900, and then Juve
plus
6,500.
Those are no. Wait, I'm going in the wrong direction. Hold on. Why won't it? Come on, Google. What are you doing? Hold on. Just trying to pull up their schedule and
whom's schedule? Napoli.
Yeah.
How far do you want it to go?
I just want to see who they have coming up.
So they got Como, Inter, Fiorentina, Venezia before international break.
All right, and who does Inter have?
Inter has, hold please. Next 5 are Genoa, Lazio. Oh, sorry, Lazio's a cup game.
Yeah. Cup Italia.
Oh shit, Napoli, and then Monza, Atalanta. They have a much harder schedule.
Do you pull a little fast one, try to double up your money, take a Napoli future right now? You have to do it now because if you know, if they beat Lazio and then if they get something out of the head-to-head.
No, because I think they will be behind Inter after this weekend. So I might wait until after this week and then do it. I would wait until Monday because they'll probably be closer to plus 200.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, and the weekend closes with Genoa hosting Venezia.
Oh, there's more. Cool.
Yeah. Last one.
My bad. I was stalling here.
I'm happy enough to wrap it after Inter Juve, but
Genoa.
That's just me. If you believe in Genoa, they're minus 110 at home.
I guess you can take a money line at home, but it's you have to plug your.
I
nose
can't
with
even
that.
make this a relegation 3-goal thriller because Genoa suck and they don't score, and they iced my man out. So fuck them.
Venezia keeps games close. I didn't realize that Rome beat them 1-0. That they've kept like their last 7 or something within a goal. They do keep them close.
I wish Venezia was a bigger number. I'd take them on the spread, but
no, I'll pinch my nose and take Genoa.
Okay,
3 wins in their last 7. It's not terrible.
Pinamonti's been good. I advocated for him to score last week. I didn't place the bet, but he was like plus 250 and he scored. He's a disgusting number this week, so nothing for me in this game. No,
I think we can wrap there. Nick, we need one more from Canada. They've gotten a third.
Let's go.
So if we can't get a fourth goal in the next period in 2 minutes and 16 seconds, then it's just what wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, don't follow our hockey podcast if it doesn't hit.
All right, so we thank you guys for listening. Some big matches this weekend. Hit us with your best bets in the comments section on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you watch us, and we'll catch you guys again next week.
Appreciate it, boys.